The world is a strange planet, made of strange people, strange places, and strange events. These are the lists that expose the truth about the strangest things that happen here, on Earth, the strangest planet in the world. These are Meeklists. Do you remember your youth? Unless you grew up in the late 60s or early 70s, odds are good that you do. Memory is the faculty of the brain by which data or information is encoded, stored, and retrieved when needed, says the most active Wikipedia in Wisconsin. It is the retention of information over time for the purpose of influencing future action. If past events could not be remembered, it would be impossible for language, relationships, or personal identity to develop. Some might argue that it is instead our ability to forget that provides these benefits. For instance, without the sodium-induced dementia, it is quite possible that twice-impeached Florida man Donald Trump would not have been impeached, or perhaps even elected at all, disappointing people everywhere that both enjoyed The Apprentice and misunderstand democracy. But what if our memories do not match the memories of those around us? If we know we cannot be wrong, despite physical and photographic evidence proving otherwise, what could possibly be the explanation for so many mismatched recollections from people whose memories do match physical and photographic evidence? Is it possible that these persons have created false memories that they then force to match these physical and photographic evidences that do not align with our definitely not incorrect and definitely real memories in an effort to distract them from the embarrassment that they would have to face head-on by admitting that they themselves remembered something incorrectly, and all they have to back them up is the historical record? Miklos has been incorrect before, but he has never needed to create an entirely separate and non-provable universe where there is only one universe to make himself feel better, as many Mandella Effect deniers do. So let's take a look at some brand new Mandella Effects that have surfaced in Q1 of 2022, and see whether we remember or misremembered or re-misremembered 5 brand new Mandella Effects for Q1 2022. Number 5. CompuServe logo. Some of the most well-recognized imagery from any company in history is the logo from the brand CompuServe, the first major commercial online service provider in the United States. So well known is the logo, in fact, that in a 2018 poll, CompuServe beat out rival logos for companies Prodigy, Incredible Universe, and even Circuit City, itself a beloved graphic whose shape has been found replicated in modern design and architecture since its creation during the company's founding in 1949. But some take issue with the light-colored blue and white CO logo that is recognized by most today, convinced that a historical forgery has retroactively changed their favorite corporate imagery. The circle within the C, they claim, is different today than it used to be. More round, rounder, and additionally round are 3 descriptors Mandela Effect victims have used to describe the old logo, familiar to those confirmed to have traveled from one dimension to another. To others, the question remains, does Big Skeptic have enough power and reach to infiltrate and Photoshop all historical imagery of one of our most beloved imageries? Number 4. Star Wars Misquote. Another Mandela Effect that has been repeatedly noted by Star Wars historians and other Trekkies involves one of the most famous lines of the 4th film, the first film in the franchise. One of the most frequently quoted exchanges in the trilogy of trilogies begins with Leia, a space princess, accusing Darth Vader, her dad, of being bold, and he quickly retorts,
"Don't act so surprised, Your Highness. You weren't on any mercy mission, after all. Several transmissions were beamed up to the ship by rebel spies. I want to know what happened to the plans that they sent you."
But what if I told you that this wasn't the line at all? Confused yet? You are not alone. So often is this conversation cosplayed or LARPed that several of the prominent Comic-Cons have banned reenactments of the scene. It seems suspicious that so many hardcore fans could get this detail incorrect, correct? But according to the film's script and the film itself, Darth instead says the following.
"Don't act so surprised, Your Highness. You weren't on any mercy mission after all. Several transmissions were beamed up to this ship by rebel spies. I want to know what happened to the plans they sent you."
Viewers are baffled by this odd change, but it does not appear to simply appear as an added edit in the latest Disney Plus streaming version, which is known to have made several significant changes from the original and re-release and special edition versions released to theaters, television networks, VHS players, DVD players, Blu-ray players, and for those of us lucky enough to own all 7 of the films of the series officially released to the greatest platform ever conceived, Laserdisc. Not to brag here, but Miklos has quite the collection of LDs, as he likes to call them, including a number of bootleg discs he purchased overseas in the early 90s, and has perhaps the only remaining copy of the famed holiday special in the world. He also owns a copy of an odd footnote from the era of the Bill Nye the Science Guy show, an R-rated one-off episode parody spin-off entitled Hamilton Mandella the Science Fellow, but that's another upload entirely. Bootleg Laserdisc. Bet you didn't know that was a thing. To be honest, without Ralphie's extreme smuggling efforts, it may never have been. Those things are difficult to hide down your pants while you work your way through airport security. Believe me. All versions of the film now appear to include this grammatical discrepancy, but why anyone would take the time and effort to go back and re-edit something they've already re-released a couple of times seems oddly controlling and is a mystery to all. Number 3. Leprosy symptoms. Statistically, everyone knows or has known at some point in their life someone who has been stricken with the infection known as leprosy, or in some cases, Hansen's disease, though not because of the 90s boy band. Most persons, when interviewed on the streets about their functioning knowledge of leprosy, seem to remember it causing great discomfort as the limbs and facial features of victims would fall or slough off, separating them completely from their prior owners. But according to medical research, this is not only not actually the case, but a vast majority of the medical community seems to remember leprosy actually causing people to grow extra body parts. Take the man historically known as 20-Hand Stan as an example, who contracted Hansen's disease while attending a concert with his older sister and her friends. Living with the infection for more than a decade without symptoms, which was frighteningly common before more advanced testing options were available, Stan Manley, 26, was shocked when, in quite rapid succession, he began to sprout extra arms. Initially blaming the growth on the sweltering summer weather and an increase in relative humidity based upon the shifting dew point, Manley attempted to brush off the additional appendages as hearsay, speculation, or just the wind, but after being accused of inappropriately touching a woman on a public transport, after which his only defense was to raise all of his new limbs and sheepishly grin, "Sorry, I'm all hands," Stanley was ostracized from society, eventually forced to supply background applause for multiple Coney Island exhibits until his penniless death some years later. There is no longer a historical record of Stanley Manley, or of Hansen's disease ever causing the unfettered exponential growth of bonus limbs. Number 2. Pokémon franchise. For those born prior to the year 1995 that have gone on to have children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, or younger siblings or employees, Pokémon has been appropriately recognized as an insidious plot to outright steal working and family gathering time, frequently forcing us to listen to an onslaught of what sounds to be someone babbling on incoherently about pretend creatures and magical abilities for literally hours on end, similar to when I was cornered by actor Thomas Cruise on the set of the film Eyes Wide Shut, and he asked me if I'd been audited by Dianetics, whom I mistakenly thought was his agent at the time. He stood erect for nearly 3 straight hours, explaining to me what I'd initially suspected to be the plotline to the upcoming Pokémon Gold and Silver for the Game Boy Color. It was right after one of the nude scenes, and I wish he'd put his pants on first. Why these youngsters, who can't seem to come up with more than 1 to 2 words when asked to describe their school day, have the ability to, at a moment's notice, launch into a researched 50-page thesis on the powers of grass-type creatures to resist Team Rocket's plans to clone a Freakachu or something, is haunting. But millions of people still remember the early years of the Pokémon pandemic and their initial indoctrination, maybe at a Thanksgiving or an Easter dinner sometime, when they accidentally met the eyeline of the shortest person in the room, who likely strode over with a confident "guess what?" and launched into a tirade that lasted up to and then through dinner, thanks to that little Poke-enthusiast pulling off a last-minute table setting swap after identifying them as the only ally in the room. They also remember the name of the product they were introduced to, which is why millions of parents today still call the franchise by its original name, Pokémans. We here at Meeklists have addressed a series of questions related to this topic to the Time-Space Referential Authority and left it sit under the light of multiple blood moons in the hopes that the office might take notice and pity upon us, but as of publication, no response has yet been mysteriously carved into the forehead or back flesh of any staff member during sleep, as is the most expected form of reply. Number 1. Meeklist, Episode 1.03. It was with great verve and grand enthusiasm that potentially millions of Mahanahan fans tuned into their YouTube devices on the morning of 18 January 2022 for the 3rd installment of the critically acclaimed Meeklists on the soon-to-be award-winning Miklos Mahanahan Presents YouTube channel. The episode, a highly anticipated deep dive into the postmodern cultural impacts of third-wave coffee, third-wave coffee machines, and third-wave coffee machine users, went live under the name 5 Starbucks Secret Menu Items That Will Get You Shot, and was met with thunderous applause from both Mahana fans and Mahana haters alike. Or was it? As of the publication of this video, there is no published episode of Meeklists entitled 5 Starbucks Secret Menu Items That Will Get You Shot, and the third episode of that show on the Miklos Mahanahan Presents YouTube channel is actually entitled 5 Embarrassing Mistakes Made by Astronauts Accidentally Seen Through Telescopes. But you may be thinking, if you are one of the thousands of viewers who still remember what we perceive to be the original upload, how could that be? I mean, I watched that episode, is likely what's going through your head, and I cheered with countless others through joyous tears of joy. For the briefest moment, I felt something again, and in that moment, I was happy. Me, Rebecca. Me. Sorry, Mahana fans. That seems to be happening a lot more than it used to. In any case, the millions of views, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, tens of thousands of upvotes, and what may have been up to billions of shares across the various social medias associated with the beloved post are gone. Hopefully, increased attention brought on by the 5th entry on today's list will bring that incredible and informative channel the attention it deserved then, and still deserves today.